Ooh, there ain't no other way.
Baby, I was on this way.
Woo! Oh, I have to tell you, Marcus, this
Yes.
too feels so fabulous, right? To be able to be in this kind of environment and be this outrageous and fabulous. I want the pink wig back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I want my
It feels great, right?
Right.
But aren't there sometimes those voices, those sort of demons that come up still and maybe tell us to play it a little bit smaller?
Yeah, but you know, one of the first things I learned in Unity is when that comes up, there's these things called denials, and you can say, no, I'm not feeling bad. I am not feeling bad.
So
It's an instant little trick. You can use it to turn around what you're feeling
You
inside.
can just turn it off.
You turn it off.
You know what, Ken? I got a feeling that you could be feeling a whole lot better than you do today.
I don't know. I feel pretty
You
good.
say you got a problem.
I did.
Well, that's no problem. It's super easy not to feel that way. When you start to get confused by the thoughts in your head, don't feel those feelings. Hold them in instead. And turn it off like a light switch. Just go click. That's a cool little Christian trick. We do it all the time when you're feeling certain feelings that don't seem right. Just treat those pesky feelings like a reading light and turn it off like a light switch. Just go bap. I mean, what's so hard about that?
Well,
you just turn it off, turn it off, turn it off.
Turn it off. That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
When I was in 5th grade, I had a friend, Steve Blake.
Steve Blake.
And I was close as two friends could be.
We were so
One thing led to another,
close.
and soon I would discover
Wow.
that I was having really strange
Feelings for Steve.
I thought about us on a deserted island. We'd swim naked in the sea.
Ooh.
And then he'd try and... No! Turn it off like a light switch. There it's gone.
Good for you.
My hetero side, just one. I'm all better now. Boys should be with girls, that's Heavenly Father's plan. So if you ever feel you want to be with a man, turn it off.
Well, Marty, don't you think it's okay if he's having gay thoughts?
Oh, yes, I think it's okay if you're having gay thoughts.
Okay.
Just as long as you never, ever
Ever.
act on it.
No. Because then you're just keeping them down. Like a dimmer switch on low.
On low.
Thinking nobody needs to know.
Uh-oh.
But that's not true. Being gay is bad, but lying is worse. So just realize you have a curable curse and turn it on.
Marcus Bean. When I was 18 years old and went to my Catholic priest about being gay, that's exactly what he advised me to do. To turn it off and just get married. And so when this is from the show, The Book of Mormon, and it was hysterical and very true. It's what spiritual teachers for millennium have told us all to do with our feelings. And it's fun to laugh at. So to tell us the real story, I'm proud to give you Marcus Bean.
Thank you. So my journey with coming out and embracing myself as a gay person is a story of both and. On one hand, I was born into an amazing family, super supportive. They let me know from the get-go that they would love me no matter what, both my immediate and my extended family, and I'm so fortunate to have that. I realize that's not everyone's story, and I'm just so grateful to have had that and to continue to have that in my life. And on the other hand, I was raised in the rural South, really far from the nearest city, at a time when, at least there, not many people, if no one, knew gay people. And so I received a lot of really clear messages from my peers in school, from the community outside of my family and outside of my church. There were a lot of Southern Baptist Bible Belt teachings going on, and also from society at large. I received the messages that being a healthy and gay person not only wasn't acceptable, but it wasn't even possible. I can remember crying to my mom, coming home and begging her to let me transfer schools because of the teasing. I remember in junior high changing my name for a year from Marcus to Mark because I thought Mark was somehow less gay than Marcus. You know, Marcus is super gay, right? and you know, I remember going out. I hated sports, hated it, but I remember going out for the football team just so I could hopefully fit in more. And you know, speaking of the messages from religions out there, I also remember very distinctly lying awake at night and worrying about the prospect of burning in hell for eternity. I mean, literally wondering what it would be like to be engulfed in flames forever. So fast forward a couple of years, I went to another state for college, which was the biggest city at the time I could possibly imagine, which was the huge metropolis of Cincinnati, Ohio, right? That cultural mecca. But I went there and I made a group of friends with similar interests, and I started my journey of coming out and fully embracing who I am, all parts of me. But to stand here today and say that just because I went through that journey, I don't carry those voices still, or that they don't come up for me would be dishonest. You know, still some of the ways that those things come up are, you know, wondering if what I'm wearing is too gay. I think yes is the answer. It's just exactly right. Or you know, how I said something, was that too effeminate? Or even with my partner of 15 years in the streets of San Francisco, when he reaches for my hand, if I'm tired or it's late, I still have the impulse to glance around and make sure that we're not going to be attacked or harassed. But what I love about the teachings of Unity and New Thought is that while we can't rewrite our circumstances, while we can't change the events in our lives, we can rewrite the story that we tell ourselves and the stories that we carry. This is also a both and, because we have to feel the feelings and we can reframe and have a new relationship to them. And we can also go back and say to the child within us the things that they didn't hear at the time and so needed to hear, and affirm their worth. You know, there's a TV show that I'm obsessed with, honestly, called RuPaul's Drag Race. And on it, they do something I think is so poignant. In the last episode, with the final 3 contestants, RuPaul invites them to speak to a photo of their younger selves. She holds up a picture and they get to say what they need their inner child to hear. So I've never done this exercise in exactly that way, but in honor of this occasion, I hope you'll indulge me. And so I want to invite little Markus to say hi. Oh, those tube socks, though. So little Markus, I want you to know that you are a child of God. You are a perfect expression of divinity. And the things that you're so worried about are going to become the things that make you unique and that make you special. They're going to become your superpowers. You're going to find friends who love you, who accept you. Your family is going to continue to support you unconditionally, no matter what. And you're going to meet a man that sees you and loves you for everything that you are, and find communities that celebrate that with you as well. So my question for all of you today is, what does the little version of you need to hear in order for you to be the full expression of who you're meant to be today? What does little Misa need to know? What does 10-year-old Elizabeth need to know? Or 15-year-old Ken? We have this beautiful tradition of inviting the children up and affirming them. And so, if anything, what I would love for you to take from this is identifying what your inner child needs to hear, to know that they are a divine expression of God's life, and that you love them and you see them exactly as they are. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I seek, I have. What I want to know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can't. Who I want to be, I am. He had me crying, y'all. Sarah Shourd.
Hello, Unity San Francisco. It's beautiful to be here today. This is only my second time ever telling my queer origin story. I've stood in front of a lot of audiences in my life and told about very deep and intimate and personal stories about other aspects of my life, like this is, okay. But thank you, JD and Ken, for the now 2 opportunities in the last couple weeks to tell my queer origin story. And when I think about telling my queer origin story, I think about telling the story of who I am, who is me. And I go back to being 6 years old. So when I was 6, my mom and we lived in Oak Park, Chicago, and she told me, we're moving. We're packing up this car. It actually wasn't our car. It was a drive-away car, which I don't know that exists anymore. Do people know drive-away cars? Someone pays you to drive their car. Yes. So 6 years old, 84, something like that. And we pack up the car, a few boxes, clothes. My amazing cat that at the age of 5 I decided to name Fluffy Muffin. Big, fluffy, orange tabby cat, all in the car. And we were moving to Los Angeles to live with another family that we had met and had moved there a few years ago. So that road trip across the country, it opened up my world. We were bringing a few possessions with us, very few, moving into the unknown, I don't think I'd ever left Chicago at that point. And we were also bringing with us a lot of baggage and hardship and some very years of struggle. The early years of my life were poverty, a lot of fear. My father was a danger to us. And so we were fleeing that reality and opening ourselves up to the unknown, to starting over in this place called California that I knew very little about. And traveling across this country, it was beautiful. The moment I remember the most was the Grand Canyon, which we weren't supposed to go to because in the drive-away rules, they take you on the most boring direct route, and we were like, no, thank you. And so I remember being at the Grand Canyon and rushing to the edge to look over and feeling my mom's fear and stress, like a line, just on my back. And then I looked back at her, and she kind of nodded, and I felt that line loosen. And I felt myself, as we traveled across the country, expanding into a new world. And what was opening up in me was just a desire to eat the world, to go everywhere, see everything, do everything, be everything. And there was a feeling that this is who I am, and I'm dropping into my essential self. I'm dropping into spirit, and a completely new definition of what my life and imaginative space opened up in me. So those early years stayed with, as they do, early trauma. Anyone relate? It stays with you. It doesn't just disappear. When you realize that you want to be more, you have to then do the work. And in high school, I was very shy, and I didn't really know who I was. I didn't come into myself in a real way, and I felt like I had crushes on both boys and girls. I definitely had a crush on my best friend, my two best friends. One was a gay man and boy, and one was a straight girl. And so I thought, am I bisexual? I didn't know other bisexual people. I definitely didn't think that I was a lesbian, because the lesbians were really butch at my school, and I didn't really identify with that. So I went on to, in my 20s, dating a lot of different people, and being on my love journey in all different forms. And I fell in love with a man and who was just as expansive in his sort of orientation to the world as I was. We traveled the world together. We were both young journalists. We lived in the Middle East. We had amazing experiences. We got married, and we were together for 11 years. And that was a beautiful relationship. And it needed to end. And I think one of the reasons that it needed to end was that, well, he wasn't queer. And there was still ways that for me, my love journey, my journey of queerness and connection has always been about breaking patterns and leaving, and expanding paradigms, and leaving behind the whether it's fighting racism, fighting the prison industrial system. It's about questioning what are the stories and belief systems that don't serve us. And I felt like I was angry with my ex-husband a lot, partially, and he felt like I didn't see him for him or love him for him, and I wanted him to change. And a big part of that was that I was feeling limited by our relationship, that I needed to continue to be on my journey. So when that relationship ended, I embraced my queerness, and for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been seeking and finding love that feels expansive, full of possibility, in line with my spirituality, in line with my deep roots in community. And I am on, this beautiful, expansive place. And for me, that's just always been not about the gender of a person. I've dated non-binary people, I've dated men, I've dated women. For me, it expands my definition of what it means to be human, to fall in love with a human, regardless of the gender and body that they are, in this lifetime. So, yeah. So I think I'm probably getting close to time. So now what I'm doing with my life, I'm a lot of things. I'm a journalist. I'm a trauma-informed journalist. I'm a playwright. I am a storyteller, and I'm a healer. And I wrote a play. I've been doing a lot of work against the horrors of solitary confinement for the last 10 years of my life, and against mass incarceration. And I wrote a play about resistance in solitary confinement, and we are now touring it across the country. And so I'm thinking about that journey when I was 6, and now that journey at 43 of seeing my country with my incredible crew of actors, one of whom is here today, AJ. A lot of us have directly been impacted by mass incarceration, and we're going to places and partnering with communities on the front lines of fighting it and reforming it, and daring to imagine a different way. of dealing with, harm and violence in our society. So keep us in your prayers, send us blessings this summer. We'll be going to 10 cities in our converted school bus, and you'll hear more about the dress rehearsal that you're invited to that's gonna be here at Unity. So, and I guess I kind of like ending with a question, and the question that bubbles up for me right now is, where does queerness show up in your life? That as far as this, the way that I orient and so many people orient toward it, where does queerness show up in your life? Oh, thank you.
Where I seek, I am. Where I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could see, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. Brian Bostwick-Smith.
Hi. So it's coming out stories. What could I possibly say? But don't worry, Elaine, it's no surprises to this morning. And to be honest, I generally don't even show up on Pride Day. I think the last time Elaine and I came up for Pride Day, it took us 9 hours to get to church, to go to the service, and to get back home, and we decided, no, we'll stay home. So anyway, that's the one thing I can't stand about any of this is gay traffic. So, but here I am, and I can say that I do have more gay friends than straight. I consider myself an ally, and I know a lot of people kind of scoff, because, I'm not gay, I'm not black. How can you be an ally? You can't really know, you can't really understand, and I get that. Thank you. But I am an ally. I have a visceral connection with what's going on in the world today, 365 days a year. Because I'm here and I'm going to talk about just two things: pride and fear. You see, I have 4 children that I love immensely. And my youngest son, Finn, pronouns are they, them, came out as trans to me years ago. And I've been so proud of how Finn has, oh wow, my picture. I'm so proud of how Finn has worked on his journey, on their journey. And to me, it's hard for me to understand. So to me, it was originally like an evolution, but I came to understand that it's not so much a process of change as it is a process of revelation. But thanks to this great community that I've been brought to miraculously, thanks to a cup of coffee years ago, I found great advice here. Great advice, a great prayer circle, great meditations. I've had books recommended to me. I've met parents of other kids that we have in common. But it was always Finn who was my greatest guide. Whenever I chat with Finn, I learn so much. When they first came out, they told me, they said, I'm trans, but that doesn't mean that the pictures you have of me as a kid and the memories you have of me, those aren't false. Those are real. That was just a part of the history and story that Finn is. And when I asked permission to do this talk, because I wasn't going to do this without their permission, they said, just do 2 things, Dad. Use my name and pronouns properly, which I try, and be true to yourself. They were concerned about me. So My queer kid gives me the best, most profound advice, and I couldn't be more proud. But there's fear. And I'm sure you heard about the events on June 11th up in Idaho. On that very day, Finn was staffing a Pride booth in Oregon. And I received a tweet from them. And this is the tweet. It says, "Hey, today I'm tabling a booth for my museum at the very first ever Pride event in my very white supremacist leaning city, and I'm pretty generally concerned for my safety. So if you could do whatever you do for people at a distance for me, it would be appreciated." So when I read that, I realized I was 545 miles away. And I was petrified. So if it's not bad enough that my kid has to worry when they go to the store and wait in line or go fill up their tank of gas, but then there's hate groups ever present on the fringes of their town, looming in their community when all they want to do is live their lives. I mean, we're blessed. Look at around this room. Look at this community. Think about the people you know here. You know, San Francisco, Northern California, the Bay Area. We are so blessed to have the support we have. But millions of kids are growing up in rural areas where they are not accepted. And they hide. They're in fear. They cluster in small groups because they can't go out and do the things that they want to do. So I live with fear, fear that being an ally isn't enough, fear that I can't protect them. But I do have hope. As I said, Finn has always been my best teacher. Finn is a creative force at the museum they work at. They're a terrific photographer of nature, a storyteller, and a true ally for kids in their community. Finn graduated from college with the dream of establishing a resource center for trans kids, a place for them to explore their lives, their questions and their feelings, a fun place where they can forget about their differences and relish in the love they share. Finn has forged ahead and launched the world's first queer-focused children's bookstore called Invisible Strings, with the goal to help to use children's literature as an entry point to community and connection with queer youth. So I'm up here today. I live with pride and fear. Finn lives with pride and courage. My love for Finn has never wavered, but they need more. Trans kids everywhere need you to stand up. We need to stand up. The times we're in are getting shakier and fuzzier with support for all the kids out there and all the adults too. So I implore you to stand up, raise your voices, and speak out. Use your votes. Use your community. Expand the community that we have to include everybody. Your embrace is sorely needed. Thank you.